I've used D'Addario strings myself for at least 30 years, if not more.
Everybody who comes in here, with very, very few exceptions, plays D'Addario strings. And they didn't get there because of any reason except dependability and tone.
So what are you playing today? You're playing one of your Reverend signatures, yes?
It's called Wattplower, and it's the Mark II. And yeah, I worked with Reverend guitars to make this. Maybe first one came out in 2017.
Now, we were talking earlier, and you were talking about the difference between the Mark I and the Mark II, so why don't you share that with our viewers?
Here's the pickups. Mark I only had this, viewers. And the Mark II has this one. And then, so it has 1.5 extra.
Okay.
Because when it's in this mode, it's like this, which is opposite of what Leo did with this P bass. In the middle, it's like Leo's. And what's like this is this neck.
Okay.
Now these ones with blades are called P blades. They're made by the Reverend guitar designer man, Joe
Okay,
Naylor.
so these are Joe Naylor's, okay.
And very aggressive. They got ceramic magnets. You know, the way they took this, went to short scale basses live because into the 90s I was getting a lot of pain. So they took measurements of a Gibson EB3, a 65 I used to, no, EBO was 65.
Oh.
Because that bass got stole with all the Stooges stuff in 2008.
Oh, hell.
And get this cat, right, maybe a few months after I'm playing in San Diego, his name was Dan. So I call it the Dan bass because he gives me a 65 EBO, which if you know EBs, they only through their first ones to 65 are the same, then they start changing. So his first ones, you know, I got to play the Cream, the Jack Bruce one. That's
Which
another
is
story.
hit,
That's
yeah.
Thank you, Bruce Gary. He made that happen.
Nice.
Okay, but anyway, get back to this. So they're taking the measurements on these things. They have, the strings are closer together than Leo had on his. So pole pieces, if I just use regular P bass, it wouldn't, right? So the blades, that's not an issue. Okay. It's got a sound. It's kind of like Leo's, but a little more aggressive than Joe Naylor. We were working on different kinds of windings, how many, how less, and we came up with a thing that I thought I liked. So. But then I thought a little more vocabulary. Mm-hmm. So that's where, the thing is, when I got that Dan bass, that EBO, which is an EB3 with just one pickup, he had saw the way because I modified them things, you know, that mud bucker, I never used it. So he put his own pickups. He got Lindy Fralin guitar pickups. And they're the same size as Les Paul SG thing. So I'm looking for a bass pickup, you know, not with 6 pole pieces because it's 4 strings. So I found this guy, Dave Went. We just lost him.
Dave Went.
Yeah. Rio Grande pickups. He made them, Stevie Ray Vaughan. He made something called the Pit Bull for Steinbergers, and that's the same thing.
Huh.
So I put it in that that Dan bass, I call the EBO. And when it came to this, add some vocabulary because they use Alnico magnets, and they're a little more round, a little more calm. So, like with Mike, I've been using this all tour, this one. Not even these babies. This is more of my Missing Man and other projects, Second Man, other projects. I think with Mike, this one fits better. And in fact, he wants, when we're going to record the last, that's why we're doing 58 gigs in 61 days. So we're all pracked for the last day we record that.
Record, yep.
So he wants me to use this bass, so I guess it's working. And no mixing. It's either this setup, or that setup.
Okay.
Bass, I don't think you can really tell. This is just a volume and a tone. With Mike's music, I use these a lot. Not only rolling off treble and stuff like this, when you lower the volume, you load the pickup, you lose some there. Yeah, I tried the active EQ things in the 90s and all that. You already got EQs here. You start stacking them up. Where's the real fundamental? Mm-hmm. So I think less. So it went passive. These controls work a lot with passive.
Now, is this the exact pickup setup that you would get if you were to purchase a Wattplower 2?
That's right.
Excellent. Okay.
I thought it shouldn't be like they're just getting a name. This should be something that Watt would play.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And, it's
the guy with the Mark I don't get cheated. He
Yep.
just gets a little more vocabulary. That's still got this. There's no trade-off. That right there. If you got it in the middle, it's just like a Mark I.
Yep.
It's got a little more vocab.
Yep.
Now, you know about the Gibsons. They got 2 on each side.
Yep.
I'm always hitting on the cymbal, getting out of tune. So Leo, thank you. I think you got it from some Balkan design, but I like all 4 on the same side.
And you've also got lightweight tuners on this,
That's
right?
well, hip shot, right? And the small headstock, but even more because they took the measurements off of me. Leo and the Gibson people had a difference on the angle of the neck to the body. Fenders lay a lot flatter. That's why Leo Kwan made a bridge, one of the first.
The badass.
Right.
Which is making a comeback.
First, that's right.
Yep.
I think he's fighting cancer and stuff and anything, but he's the first guy, if you want to modify a bridge,
Yep.
you want to add more mass and stuff. Well, you couldn't use the same bridge on a Gibson or a Fender because of this issue with the angle. I never see this talked about, but anybody plays them knows there's a big, but I used it for a couple of reasons. I got, on my EB3, the Gibsons I was using, the little guys, I was just using a Schaller, but I got my organ man, Pete Mazich, second man, to cut a piece of brass for a shim. So not only do I get more sustain and stuff, it counterweights it, because that was a problem with the Gibsons.
Yep, neck
Everything from my non-reverse Thunderbird with the 9
Yep.
headstock to
Yep.
even the EBs.
Well, with bass, it's especially crazy, but I have trouble with SGs for the same reason.
Oh, okay.
It's like,
Right. Well, this does that, and the lightweight hip shot. And then hip shot started making bridges that had different, you can adjust the widths. See the little adjustments in there?
Yep.
So you can play a narrow kind of thing. Rickenbackers have a narrow thing, you know, now everybody's like, Leo wanted it fanned, he's making a bass that people, because in those days they don't even have vans yet, they're using station wagons, so they have to strap this doghouse.
On
So
the
he's
top.
looking, right,
Yep.
so he's looking at really, because he doesn't play, just a little piano and saxophone, he doesn't play string instruments, but he's trying to make like an electric version of a stand-up bass, so he makes the strings fan out here. Also, you know why it's called precision?
no, why is it called precision? I actually took it down.
It's got frets. Because a string bass is like a giant violin without
that's
a
right.
tin part.
But when you put the frets on, you can be precise.
You're going to get the right.
That makes sense. Oddly enough, I've never encountered that before. But
Yeah.